Hello, teachers. My name is Stacy Crabb. Today, we're going to work together to learn how to use Google Breakout Rooms for our turn and talk routine. So what you'll see here is this is the introduction page for Google Meets. Now, the one thing you need to know with this is that you need to be using your DOE email or your DOE domain, and so do your students. If you would like to use this with your students and they don't have a DOE domain name that they're accessing, you can still do this, but you need to set up this meet, get the link, drop it into your school's domain Google meeting, and then bring them over, which is a little tricky for first graders. So I mean, I've done it with my class and that's how we do it, but it would be most easily done if you're using your DOE email with the students using their DOE email. So that being said, you need to make sure you're in your DOE account. Sometimes people can get confused if they're not in the right account. Then you would go in here, and you can't really use a nickname like you might use with your school domain because there's so many more people in using the DOE. So you would go in and you would create a new meeting. So we're going to say start an instant meeting. Okie dokie. Now, what you'll notice is, which is different from if you're using your school's account, is you're going to see in this upper right hand corner, you're going to see a triangle, a square, and a circle. And these are your breakout room groups. So what you would do is you would be doing your meeting in here, your lesson. You could share your screen, which you would just go present now. You would share the anchor chart and share the turn and talk question. So this turn and talk question in the lesson is asking students to retell the story. So what you would do, go over your anchor chart. You could do your whole story in here. You'd pose the question, okay, students, at this point, we're going to work with a partner and practicing retelling the story. Make sure we use our transition words in the beginning, first, next, then, later, after, finally. You could have one person go first and then somebody else share their ideas, and be prepared as a group to possibly share your retelling out with the whole class. After you prompt them, this is how you would set your breakout groups up. So you come over here. This is how many people are in the group. This is the chat, and this is the breakout rooms. If you would like to drop the turn and talk question into the chat, you could do that. But what we're focusing on today is our breakout rooms. So you click breakout rooms, set up breakout rooms. Now, it's going to ask you how many breakout rooms. So if you want 2 people in each turn and talk group, you would just take the number of students you have in that session and divide by 2. So I would imagine most of us have about 20 students in our class. So we would click 10. You can set a timer on this. This is great, especially to start, with routine, so they know they need to get in there, get busy working, and then they'll have to come back. So you might set a timer. So let's say I'm going to set my timer for 3 minutes. Okay. Now, the shuffle button here, this is great if you want children to interact with other children, or you have a series of questions and you want them to switch groups up. This is only ideal if you're okay with your groups being not predetermined, where you're okay with it kind of being randomized. So this is where you have, your group set up. Then after, let's say 3 minutes, you want to switch up the groups, you hit shuffle, and then everybody's who's in the breakout rooms gets shuffled into a different group. So in this particular lesson, you'll see that there's 2 questions. So it says, tell the story in your own words, tell about the main events from the beginning, middle, end. That could be your first question in the turn and talk. Then before you shuffle them, you could say, what will Spider do the next time his neighbors ask for help, and tell why. And then you could shuffle the groups up for that second question. So there's nobody in this meet right now except for me, so that's why you don't see the names. But once you hit here where it says open rooms, that's when all the students in your meeting will be shuffled into the 10 breakout groups. And then what you would do is you'll see a button that says join. So you can't see all 10 groups at one time like you would if it was, let's say, a security camera. But you can join one group at a time. And before you broke them out, you would say, okay, students, I want you to get started right away. I'll be popping in and out of groups. If you have a question, have your question ready. But I'll be popping in and out. So then when you hit join, then you'll be able to go in, you'll be able to talk to those 2 students. If you need to drop anything visual for them, you could drop a link in the chat. And then one of the students, if they're comfortable with technology, they can open that link, share it, so the 2 students would have a visual there to look at. But if you're just starting breakout rooms, you might want to not have the complication of opening files, sharing files. You may want to just have it as a conversation piece, like a turn and talk question. So you'll see you'll have the opportunity to join each of these groups. If you set the timer, it will automatically, at the end of 3 minutes, close the groups, and everybody will be prompted to come back to the main group. If you didn't set the timer, then you would click close rooms, and it says everyone will be asked to return to the main call in 30 seconds. So, or let's say you did set a timer and you realize your directions must not have been clear, or all of them need a reminder. You can close the rooms, fix your directions up, give a new prompt, and then send them back into groups again. So if you want them all to come back, you say close room, and all of the groups will get this red banner across the top that says breakout rooms are ending in however many seconds. So while that's going on, you can still join into those groups, to get a last, few seconds in. Anybody needs prompting before they return back to the group. So once everybody comes back in, that's when you've had the opportunity to meet with each group. You know which groups maybe you want to ask to share if they had something insightful. So that's kind of a nice thing with this, because, kind of like when you're listening in on the different turn and talks, which groups you want to highlight to reiterate or drive home the point of the lesson or the skill of the lesson. So then once you're done with breakout rooms, you're in your main group. They do have other options here. You can get a quick pulse of the audience. You could put out polls. You can do a question, give everyone a way to ask a question. There's different options here. So just like your regular Google Meets, you have the chat, you have your people, but this is the prompt for breakout rooms. So if you're not using your DOE email, this will not pop up. So hopefully this was helpful, and it's pretty straightforward.